ServSafe tests 90 questions and answers PDF. Which action could lead to cross-contamination? Touching more than 1 TCS food before washing your hands. The primary risk associated with transporting ice in containers originally used to store chemicals is that they may still have residue after they have been cleaned. Which procedure would help protect food from contamination by food handlers and customers? Installing sneeze guards above the salad bar. The third compartment in a 3-compartment sink is for sanitizing. Why should training documentation reports be kept? They verify that training has been completed. A correctly designed and installed 3-compartment sink must have which type of backflow prevention? Air gap. If found during a food safety inspection, which hazardous grounds for closing a food service operation? Significant lack of refrigeration. A food handler must remove what item before working with food? Medical bracelet. The only acceptable jewelry for a food handler is a plain metal ring. Mineral buildup has formed on the steam table. Which cleaning agent would best remove it? Delamer. A food handler is slicing roast beef continuously on a slicer for 6 hours. After 4 hours, the roast beef is removed and set aside while the slicer parts are washed, rinsed, and sanitized. The meat is then put back on the slicer to continue slicing. What is the most serious risk of this procedure? Time temperature abuse of the roast beef. Which is the best location for chemical detergents and sanitizers to be stored? On shelves in the dishwashing area. The hair, nose, throat, and infected cuts of an average healthy person may carry staphylococcus. Who should the manager contact when reporting a suspected foodborne illness? Local regulatory authority. Wastewater backs up into the kitchen. Who should be contacted after the regulatory authority suspends the permit to operate? Licensed plumber. What is the first thing a person in charge should do when someone arrives at the food service operation and says that they are there to conduct an inspection of the operation? Ask for identification. What is the reaction of the immune system to a specific food called? Food intolerance. Tabletop equipment on legs requires a clearance of at least 4 inches. Shucked oysters must be purchased from an approved supplier. Which food should be stored below all others in a cooler? Raw poultry. A food handler has opened a container of commercially prepared potato salad. After how many days must the potato salad be discarded if it has been properly stored? 7. What is the correct way to clean a cutting board? Wash, rinse, and sanitize. An illness caused by what pathogen must be reported to the regulatory authority? Norovirus. Which temperature is acceptable for cold storing potato salad? 46F. Cross contact is a concern with allergens in food. When prepping food for customers with a food allergy, food handlers must wash, rinse, and sanitize cookware and utensils first. Hand antiseptics may only be used if they are approved by the FDA. In order from top to bottom, how should a pan of fresh chicken breasts, fresh salmon, a carton of broccoli, and fresh ground beef be stored on shelves in a cooler? Broccoli, fresh salmon, fresh ground beef, and fresh chicken breasts. Which sink should be used to empty mop buckets and rinse cleaning tools and brushes? Service. A food handler should recalibrate a thermometer after it falls on the floor. Sinks must be used for the correct intended purpose to prevent cross-contamination. The most effective way to prevent pest problems is by maintaining a clean environment. A delivery of rice boxes should be rejected if the box bottoms are water stained. A cook takes poultry out of the oven for service, checks the temp of poultry that is baking, and finds that it is 150 F. The cook records this in a log and continues cooking the poultry until its temp is at 165 F. Which step in this process was the corrective action? Continuing the cooking process. The most common transmission form for hepatitis A and foodborne illness outbreaks involving ready-to-eat foods is an infected employee. Which information is required on a safety data sheet? SDS, first aid information. A cherry pit in a slice of pie is which type of contaminant? Physical. For a foodborne illness to be considered an outbreak, a minimum of how many people must experience the same illness after eating the same food? 2. Which practice reduces the risk of contamination in a food prep area? Drinking beverages from a covered container with a straw. A consumer advisory is required when serving. Cook to order hamburgers. An operation is forced to close due to a natural disaster. The authorization to reopen must be issued by the state or local regulatory authority. When a food recall occurs, the operation must discontinue use of the item. Reviewing video surveillance is part of which alert food defense awareness step. Employees. The appropriate concentration for an iodine sanitizer is 12.5 minus 25 ppm. How should food and supplies be stored in a dry storage area? Away from the walls and 6 inches off the floor. Air curtains should be installed at the delivery entrance of an operation in order to deny pest access. Gloves should be used when handling ready-to-eat food that will not be cooked further. What item is a major food allergen? Soybeans. Within 2 hours of hot holding in a self-service area, the temp of soup has dropped to 130 F. The soup is pulled from the area and reheated. The soup must be reheated to a temperature of 165 F for 15 seconds. When washing hands properly, which other body part must also be clean? Exposed parts of forearms. Which activity helps to prevent food contamination? Reusing plates at a self-service area. Which is the best way to thaw frozen shrimp? Under refrigeration at 41 F or lower. The primary goal of active managerial control is to reduce the risk of foodborne illness. A manager should store canned soup that has been recalled in dry storage with a do not use label. When should food contact surfaces be cleaned and sanitized? After each task. An operation will offer takeout meals produced using the reduced oxygen packaging ROP method to its customers. In order to do this, what must the operation do? Create a HACCP plan. Which raw food should be stored above all others in a cooler to minimize cross-contamination? Carrots. What is the primary source of hepatitis A? Human feces. ALERT is an acronym that represents a way to decrease the risk of intentional food contamination. A food handler working in a self-service area should ensure that cold food is being held at which temperature or lower? 41 F. Operations serving highly susceptible populations should not serve undercooked eggs. What is the maximum number of days that sliced roast beef can remain refrigerated at 41 F or below before it must be discarded? 7. When is a food considered adulterated? When it is held under unsanitary conditions. Traces of pesticides are found on raw poultry breasts. Which type of contamination is this? Chemical. The most important aspect of personal cleanliness is frequent and through hand washing. The temperature of poultry is measured during cooking. This is an example of monitoring to determine if a critical limit is met. Food contamination is most likely to happen when food handlers chew tobacco, which is an example of cleaning. Removing food bits from a slicer with a wiping cloth. Allowing a disgruntled employee to enter the food prep area could cause which food safety issue? Deliberate contamination. Garbage containers used by an operation should be leak-proof, waterproof, and easy to clean. A hose is connected to a faucet to fill a bucket, then left submerged in the bucket while it fills. This is a risk to the water supply because a cross-connection has been created. Which food would be safe to serve to a highly susceptible population? Chocolate sauce. A new recipe is introduced to the food service operation. What is the most effective way of training the food handlers on how to make the new recipe? Demonstration. Which food container is suitable for transporting food? Metal pan with aluminum foil cover. Using coated or shatter-resistant light bulbs is a way of preventing which type of contamination? Physical. Outside garbage containers must be sealed with tight-fitting lids. An operation can reduce the likelihood of biological contamination by purchasing seafood from approved, reputable sources. What is the correct response to a sewage backflow in an operation? Close the operation immediately. A virus of particular concern to food safety is norovirus. To make cleaning easier, the area where floors and walls meet should be cold. Egg salad sandwiches are served at an off-site location without temperature control. The sandwiches are removed from cold holding at a M. The temp of the egg salad is checked at PM and is found to be 55 F. At PM, the egg salad has reached 65 F. At PM, the egg salad has reached 71 F. At PM, the egg salad has reached 80 F. At what time should the egg salad have been thrown out? PM. A hand washing station must have hot and cold running water, soap, a garbage container, and an acceptable method for drying hands. Hot water in a hand washing sink must reach a temperature of at least 100 F. Before what activity must food handlers wash their hands? Preparing poultry. Which of the following is evidence of deliberate tampering of food? Protective seal or wrapper is missing from a food container. It is July 22nd and chicken salad is being prepared with leftover chicken that was grilled on July 20th. By what date must the chicken salad be served or thrown out? July 27th. A food handler has emptied a durable 5-gallon bucket that originally contained pickles. This bucket may be reused for food storage if it is cleaned and sanitized. Under what circumstances can a warewashing sink be used to wash produce? It is cleaned and sanitized before and after washing the produce. Before preparing a sandwich for a customer, the deli clerk should wash hands and put on disposable gloves. Connection between two threaded faucets should have an approved vacuum breaker.